Welcome to Rolling Stock TV, and today really excited, we've got a very special guest. We have Karl Watts joining us today, and I thought I'd just get straight in there and start to ask some of the key questions to Karl. Karl, thank you for joining us today, and it's really great to have you on the show and just to understand a little bit more about your career, about the company, and also some of your thoughts on the railway industry. By definition, you are a career railwayman, and I want to find out a little bit more about that because your journey started in 1978 as a traction trainee. So what does make the railways so special?
For me, the rail industry is in my blood. So there's a personal dimension to this because my father was a career railwayman, and obviously, as you quite rightly pointed out, I'm a career railwayman too. So it's in the blood. I've never known anything other than railway all my life. So I guess that answers the question from a personal perspective, but there's also a second perspective, and that is from a more professional dimension. And that is, of course, railways are absolutely critical, vital to a thriving, successful economy. You know, we have sometimes a misconception in the UK rail industry that it's about moving people about, and it's a little bit about moving freight about. But it's much more than that. There's a bigger picture. It's there to support the economy in its entirety, and every thriving, successful country in the world has a rail system in support of it. It's infrastructure, and as every country needs, it needs infrastructure, whether that's digital infrastructure or whether that's transport infrastructure. So I'm passionate about promoting the industry as being vital to the UK economy. I don't think it's something that the rail industry sells itself that well about. Once upon a time in the days, the railway used to sell itself really, really well on TV, for example, with all kinds of adverts. I don't think we do that as well as an industry. And given, like I said, now it's so vital to the economy, I think that's a missed opportunity.
Thank you for that, Karl. That's brilliant. Karl, I really want to now fast forward to 2013 and a career-defining moment in your life. You took that decision to leave a well-paid job, leave full-time employment, and go off on your own to set up Rail Operations UK. Tell me a little bit about that journey and what made it special and how did it feel?
It was indeed a defining moment in my railway career. And like all these things, when you venture into a new space, it's a little bit scary at times. It's risky. It's the nature of the beast, as every new business owner, entrepreneur has found out for themselves. It is a high risk strategy. But it was a step undertaken on the back of understanding what the rail industry in the future looks like. A hell of a lot of research done in the background before we pressed the go button on a new venture. And I was heavily involved in passenger franchising at the time. And one of the things I was acutely aware of was that a big winning ingredient for any passenger franchise bid was new rolling stock. And everybody was bidding new rolling stock. So all the bid teams offered all kinds of new and exciting feature trains for the passenger sector. Now, we did some number crunching, and quite clearly we established that all things given, the rail industry was going to need round about 7,500 new passenger rail vehicles. That's a hell of a lot of trains. And all these trains, of course, have to be tested, commissioned, they have to be delivered to the customer. And then, of course, once the new trains are delivered, there's a whole series of subsequent activities around train movement, such as cascade programs, etc., etc. So we knew this was a market. It's a very specialist market. This is the rolling stock services market. It's a very, very specialised market. But it was just about to go ballistic. And the other thing we recognised was there wasn't any dedicated train operating companies in the UK. We had passenger operators and we had freight operators, but we didn't have any specialist rolling stock services operators. So, a train operating company specialised with the right kit and the right competence to undertake, all this kind of new passenger franchise related activity. And it is technically complex because, new trains all have to go through, lots of test programs, they all have to be gauge cleared. They all have to be hauled, a lot of them by a locomotive to get them from one place to another, and compatibility issues between locomotives and rolling stock. So we knew, there was an opportunity, but we knew there was a lot to do in terms of creating that specialist capability. And, well, we pressed the go button and we started the ball rolling, and we essentially went around the UK rail industry. And, we said to all the train manufacturers, rolling stock leasing companies, etc. We said, look, if we set up a specialist train operating company, looking after the rolling stock engineering needs of your business, would you be interested? And without a shadow of a doubt, that was the common response. And there was no exception to that. It was, yes, guys, please go ahead and do it, because that's exactly what the rail industry needs. So we saw a niche in the market. We took a few risks. We pressed the go button, and off we went, and it's been a roaring success ever since. And I guess the proof of the pudding, of course, is others now are replicating our business model, and that's always confirmation that you're doing something right, is when other companies replicate your business model.
Carl, I mean that's fascinating, and really appreciate your honesty in that answer. It's fantastic, and I probably want to move us now on to today. 8 years on, and so much innovation has happened, so much change and growth for you as an individual, but also for your companies. And one of the projects I really want to delve into now is Orion, and I want to find out a little bit more about Orion. And I'd really like you to share with our viewers what Orion is and where it's going.
Orion is without doubt the most exciting new project we're venturing into. We are very much a project-driven company, but Orion, by far, is the one that keeps us all awake at night. It is definitely exciting. And there's a number of aspects to Orion. And what I'll do, I'll go through these number of different aspects in chronological order, if you like, in terms of how they're going to roll out. So the first one is what we term as Orion high-speed logistics. This is essentially the transportation of light goods, parcel traffic, if you like, by rail. And we're doing this not by using freight trains, but by using passenger trains. So these are passenger trains that have come off lease because they've been replaced by newer, more high-tech rolling stock, and they've become available, and we are now converting them into parcel trains, essentially. And what drove this project was recognition that the number of commercial vehicles on British roads was going through the roof. All the road utilisation studies identify that commercial vehicle growth is rocketing. Domestic vehicles are remaining pretty static, and interestingly, heavy goods vehicles are remaining pretty static. So the increase in commercial traffic is actually the lighter stuff, the man-in-weight vans, logistics type vehicles. And that is a direct consequence of the growth of e-commerce as well. So I think it's been widely recognised for quite a number of years now, is the world of e-commerce, shopping online, if you want, is increasing at a fair old rate at the expense of high street retail. But of course, what's happened in the last 18 months is e-commerce is growing at an even greater rate because of COVID. So, you're more reluctant. Online shoppers are becoming less reluctant now, and so we've seen a rapid growth in online shopping. Now, pre-COVID, the transportation of light goods traffic, which is all by road, of course, 99% of it goes by road, The market, the light transportation market, was worth £16 billion a year. We estimate it to be 20 billion now. That's 18 months later, and rising at a phenomenal rate. All reports that we've read recently is that the commercial activity on British roads is just rocketing. Already, I was reading a report the other day in the Times about road usage today is higher than it was pre-COVID, and that's why, and that's whilst we're still in a stage of lockdown as well. So we've got some major challenges facing us on British roads. So Orion High Speed Logistics was to address some of those issues and drive a modal shift of light goods from road onto rail. And that's why we chose to use passenger trains as opposed to freight trains, because this is about light goods. It is about speed. Everybody knows when you order something online, you want it delivering the next day. A traditional freight train was never going to cut that. So this is why we opted for passenger trains. So passenger trains obviously much faster getting the goods from A to B. But the other thing, of course, is for the passenger train, we have much more chance of getting better access onto the network. Rail network capacity is a bit of a challenge at the moment, but obviously the faster the train, the easier that capacity is. What else is happening with Orion? We've ordered 6 months ago now. We ordered 30 Class 93 state-of-the-art tri-mode locomotives built by Stadler in Valencia in Spain. And not only are these locomotives, phenomenally sophisticated, and that they are the future, and they're certainly a game-changing locomotive. They are a very versatile locomotive as well. So you can point these locomotives at anything, from express rates to specialist services, to express passenger trains, you name it. These locomotives are capable of doing it. They're very fast locomotives, they're very powerful locomotives, and of course their tri-mode capability, which is the three modes being diesel alternator, is one, 25 kV overhead electric, is the other, and the third one is, for the first time in the UK rail industry, is the employment of lithium titanate oxide batteries for traction. Now, what those three modes do is deliver a locomotive which is incredibly environmentally friendly. So not only is it sophisticated, elegant, versatile, it's also a very green locomotive as well. And one of our kind of objectives here is to support the rail industry in decarbonising traction. We still have a lot of fuel guzzling, carbon emitting diesel locomotives on the rail network, and we need to. This is basically a starting point. And then third and finally, when it comes to Orion, because of the 93s, it unlocks some great opportunities for Orion. And that is one of those opportunities, is the opportunity to revolutionise freight. It's quite interesting that the passenger world in recent years has improved phenomenally in terms of its traction capability and performance. New build passenger trains have sports car-like performance. The acceleration is unbelievable. Braking capability fantastic. And what Network Rail have done is spend billions in the background improving the infrastructure to facilitate, that increased performance and, of course, increased network capacity. But nothing much has happened in the freight sector. We're still running intermodal trains, container trains, at 75 miles an hour. We were doing this back in 1965. So in 56 years, intermodal operation hasn't improved one iota. Now we intend to address that issue. And for the first time in a lot of years, we're going to start speeding things up a bit. So that's a little bit further ahead. We're dependent on the Class 93's entering service before we can do that. But it's certainly our firm objective, one of our firm objectives, to speed up things.
And one final question from me, Karl, and one that I like to ask any of our guests that come on this show. What do you think the future holds for the railway industry?
What does the future for the rail industry have in store? Wow. I mean, that is the $20 million question, isn't it? If I had the answer to that, I don't think I'd be sitting here. It's a good question. I don't think anybody knows. We all read with interest the William Schaff rail reform white paper a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, it was an ambitious paper, but it didn't go into a lot of detail. It's not meant to. It's a white paper at the end of the day. The proof of the pudding, of course, is in the detail, and that is what the rail industry is concentrating on now. So, like I said, it was a very ambitious paper with some very, very encouraging signs of what the future of rail should look like. But how we deliver that has yet to be determined. I think one thing that everybody is in agreement with is that the rail industry needed to change. And what this white paper will do is facilitate that change. And yes, I think if we can take out some of the complexity of the rail industry, because that's one of the challenges that we've had with the rail industry, especially in terms of the cost of running this rail industry, is it's just phenomenally complicated. There are thousands of companies now involved in either running the railway or indeed sitting in the vast supply chain that supports the rail industry. There's a great opportunity to do some streamlining here, take out some of the complexity and reduce operating costs, and that will make the rail industry more attractive to both passenger and freight users as well. The other thing I think that is absolutely critical is leadership. Very, very strong, unified leadership, because that's one of the things we've lacked since privatisation. In British Rail, one organisation, we had a strong leader at the top, or a leadership body at the top. But when you fragment an industry like that into 200, 300, 400 different companies, you dilute that leadership by 200, 300, 400 times. And so we need to re-establish that leadership, and hopefully that's what the future of rail will deliver. And I guess one of the other things which is vitally important for me as well, and I'm starting to hear very encouraging signals, or see very encouraging signals about this, and it goes back to something I alluded to yesterday, and that's about the importance of the rail industry supporting the economy as a whole. The rail industry is not just about the movement of people, it's about the movement of goods. And when we talk about goods, let's split that into two separate sectors. Let's split that into traditional goods, so the freight trains that we see running about today, like the container trains, container trains, but also when we talk about Orion, high-speed logistics. The rail industry doesn't play any role whatsoever in supporting this £20 billion a year high-speed logistics market, and that needs to change. We need to be able to deliver goods right into the city centre with zero carbon, and we're not doing that at the moment. Every town and city in the UK have fleets of vans and lorries driving into the city centre every single day, not just emitting carbon, which is obviously having a long-term negative impact on the planet, but of course, it's the NOx, it's the nitric oxide emissions, and it's also the particulate emissions, which are really, really damaging air quality in the UK. And of course, that's affecting people's health real time. So, this is a real time problem that we've got in terms of air quality, whereas carbon is much longer term. We need to understand the damage that diesel and petrol engine emissions are doing to the human being, to us all, every single day. So I think it's a great opportunity for the rail industry to play a stronger part in cleaning up our national emissions, global emissions at the end of the day. And we're going to do that through various decarbonisation programmes.
Karl, thank you very much again for joining us here on Rolling Stock TV. I've really enjoyed chatting to you today, and I really know our viewers would as well. And I'd encourage our viewers, go and check out Karl on LinkedIn. He does some great posts on LinkedIn, sharing lots of his thoughts and also what Rail Operations UK does. So please go and check him out on LinkedIn, and also just delve a little bit more into what they do and what the future holds.